In this video, I introduce another version of signal poker. The game version today is a quadruple signal game, meaning that we are going to have 4 signal buttons. Just to clarify, signal poker is not a new game by itself. Instead, signals are new tools that you can add to any player against player game of poker you want. So for example, you can add any number of signals, and not necessarily 4 of them that we are going to explain today, to any game you like No Limit Hold'em, or Pot Limit Omaha, or Limit Raz, in tournament or cash game, and in live or online games. Today I'm going to explain 4 signals of yellow, black, red, and green. But before I talk about what each signal does, let's talk about how you can play any signal in general. You keep signals behind, by your stack or behind them. And then you can play a signal by putting it in front of you near the betting line. So you play it by putting it in front of you near the betting line. Playing signals are always optional. But if you choose to play a signal, for the rest of that hand, you can't take that signal back or play any other signal. Of course, when the hand is over, or if you fold, which means the hand is over for you, you'll get your played signal back, so you can use it in future hands. When can we play a signal? The answer is anytime action is on you, pre-flop or on the flop, turn or river, and you can play any signal along with any check, call, bet, raise. Again, check, call, bet, raise. Basically, you can play a signal with any action except for fold and all-in. Now let's see what each of these 4 signals does. You see that I have used different shapes here for the 4 buttons. That was only to make them more differentiated. But of course, in a casino setting, we will use nicer buttons like this, for example, as signal buttons. And of course, we can always write, just as I have done here, we can always write on each signal what they do to make them self-explanatory. In poker, we have 5 wager action options. 3 of these 5 options are more passive, and they are fold, check, call. They are the passive options. And the other 2 options, bet and raise, are more aggressive. So when you play your yellow signal, as you see it says check, call, fold only. You basically commit yourself, when you put it here, you basically commit yourself to play only the passive actions, check, call, and fold, in future rounds of actions of this hand, of course. But remember, at the time that you are playing any signal, you are not yet bound by that commitment of the signal. That's why we said you can use any signal with any check, call, bet, raise. So for example, Jane here may have bet 25. And then John can indeed make a raise while playing yellow. But then once he puts, so he may raise to 50 and play yellow. It's totally fine because he's not yet bound by the rule of the yellow. But then once he puts this yellow button in front, starting from the next time the action is on him, he can no longer bet or raise. He will turn to a passive player. Okay, that's about the green, the yellow. How about the black? So you see the black says can't fold. When you play black, you are taking away the fold option from yourself. So you can do anything else like check, call, bet, raise, but you just can't fold anymore. By playing black, you send a very strong and daring message to your opponents. You are basically telling them, bring it on, buddy, and you make it credible to them that you have burned the bridge behind yourself. And you're not just ready for action, you have self-committed yourself to action. Because remember, if your opponent bets or raise, you can't back down and can't fold anymore. So if John plays his black with, for example, a bet of 50, so let's say John action is on John, and he's going to bet 50 along with playing a black. And then Jane raises him to 100. So let's say Jane raises him to 100. Now John has to call or re-raise her raise. Because remember, fold is not an option to John anymore. So basically, once you played your black, you may still check if you don't face a bet. But if you face a bet or raise, like the case here, now you have to only call or raise it. So John's options are now only to call that $100 raise or actually re-raise. That's how strong the message of black is. Okay, so far we've seen the passive yellow, passive/trap yellow, and the super aggressive black. Let's see another passive signal, which is red. When you play your red signal, you basically lose all your action options for the rest of that hand. So your hand is still live, but your action is basically over. But remember, it's over starting from the next time action is on you. But again, at the time that you are playing your red, you are not bound by the signal yet. So you can still do any action you want simultaneous with playing the red. So for example, John here can bet 50 along with playing red. Or if he is already facing a bet, let's say Jane has bet 50, now John actually may raise to 125 along with playing the red. Of course, with $50 bet by Jane, John could also call. John could just say call and play red. But remember, if there is already a bet by Jane, like this case, and if John wants to play his red signal, then he has to either call or raise. He can't just play the red without calling or raising Jane's bet. So it's impossible to just say, I want to play red, but I don't want to call that 50. No, that's not going to work. The last and the fourth signal is the green. Green in a way is different from all these other buttons, because by playing green you basically commit yourself to not play any other signal. This is just like a placeholder. It occupies the place for playing a signal, so you can't play any other ones. So when you are playing green, you are telling everyone that your chips are in play and you can't play any other signal to limit how they are in play. And that's it. You have learned the quadruple signal game. Of course, there are other interesting signals that I introduce in future videos. And remember, you can use any number of signals. So if you think 4 signals are too many, feel free to use 3, 2, or even just 1 signal, the ones that you like better. Or you can use other signals like the ultra-aggressive double black or silver, blue or pink, and many more that I will introduce in my future videos. Okay, so let's just talk a minute about the strategy. Just a quick note, as you know, poker is a game of deception. A call or raise or bet can mean different things at different times. Same for the signals. They also mean different things at different times. So for example, even though the yellow or red look like signs of weakness, they actually may be the opposite. When you play yellow, you may actually trap your opponent and make him think that you are weak, and then he may value bet or value raise or even try to bluff you. Your opponent may give you even more action if he knows because of your yellow signal you can't come over on top of him and raise him. Or he may have a hand that he normally doesn't bet out of position with that. But now that you have played your yellow and he knows you can't raise him, he may decide to bet out of position. So as you see, in all these cases and many more cases, yellow actually creates more action and is definitely not an action killer. Similarly for red, it may look like a sign of weakness, but it's not. Not always. Let's say John bets 75 here. So here is John betting 75. And Jane has a marginal hand that she wouldn't normally call $75 with that hand. But now that she sees John has played his red signal with that $75 bet, Jane feels safer to call John's $75 bet. So as you see, even red can create action. Jane would have probably folded if John hadn't played his red signal, because now Jane knows that there is not going to be future betting by John, and she doesn't have to bet all her stack. So she feels safe to call that $75. And then so this was about how yellow and red can create action. And then of course the black and green or others, like double black that I haven't explained yet, they are just plain aggressive and can create lots of actions also. And the final note, remember this game plays really fast because you have only one hand. So the game is as fast as any other poker game. Thank you for watching this video. In future videos, I will explain other signals and other optional features of signal poker.